Hello everybody, this is a quick video from me, your Student Union President, and we're joined by Jane, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Greenwich. You've sent some questions in and we're going to go through those one by one. Jane, do you want to say hello?
Hi everyone, I'm Jane Harrington. I'm as Henry's already said, I'm the Vice Chancellor of the University, and I thought it'd be really great to actually be able to directly speak to you and answer some of your concerns and questions.
Brilliant. So the first question students have asked is, how have the university and the Students' Union been reacting to the coronavirus outbreak? So do you want to go first?
Yeah, okay. Well, obviously for the last number of weeks, all of us have been seeing in the news events unfolding. And it was really only about 2 weeks ago, which feels like about a year ago, actually, that we started actually here. There was much more concern about people using tubes and people traveling. And we were starting to get some quite serious concerns from students and staff about face-to-face delivery. And so we took the decision on the Saturday morning that we would actually move all our face-to-face delivery to online delivery from Monday onwards. Was a massive decision, but I think it was the right decision, because as the events then unfolded during the week, what became clear was that the governments were requiring us to social distance. They were requiring us not to be in large groups. And we also at that point took the decision that we couldn't have staff travelling in either, because in my head it's not acceptable to actually say it's not safe for students but then say it was safe for staff. So we had to take that decision. So by the following Monday, everything, including all our staff and everyone, has been home working and it is now adapting to online delivery. Fortunately, we have a fantastic IT team who had already set themselves up to actually be able to deliver some of this. But I wouldn't want to underestimate, it's a massive change for all of us. And it's not something that I certainly, when I took on this job, was expecting to have to deliver in effect in my first 100 days.
Yeah. And what the Student Union have been doing, so we've moved completely online. We've sent out guidance to our student groups on how they can stay connected, obviously with buildings being closed and with social distancing policy coming into place. We've bolstered our advice function to make sure that we are even better prepared to give you up-to-date information and support during this time. We've created online social groups for students living in halls, and we've made sure that our village shop at Avery Hill remains open for you, and we've now made online ordering possible, and you can come and pick that up from outside without breaching any social distancing rules. And every day the officers have been on social media talking to you guys and getting what your questions are, to make sure that we are asking all the right questions and representing you as best as we can at this difficult time.
Henry, can I just add one thing? Because I think it's fantastic what the Student Union have been doing. And also as a staff group, we've now got a volunteers group set up, which is staff actually, including myself, who are fit and healthy at this moment in time. And so for any students who actually can't access food or are very isolated and need medicines and food, we'll be able to actually, as from, I think it's about, I'm just hesitating, but certainly from Monday, if not from tonight, we'll be able to actually, through that site, be able to come and deliver what's needed.
Brilliant. Okay, so the next question is, what should students expect for the rest of the academic year?
Okay, thanks for that question, Henry. That's actually, at one level, it's quite a hard question to answer, because what we're doing is responding on a daily basis. So I take all of my advice from Universities UK, from the government, from the Office for Students, and from University Alliance, which is a group of universities very similar to ourselves. Now, my guidance comes out at the same time it comes out to you and everybody else. So it means that we're reacting to that. But on the guidance we have at the moment, and on the fact that we know that schools are not expecting to open their campuses next term, we are assuming that for the rest of this year, our face-to-face delivery will be delivered online. Now, if that changes, and I should hesitate because it might, if it does change, then we'll put out messages absolutely immediately. But that's the premise that we're working on at the moment, and we're working on that for all of our assessments as well. Obviously, if we can open the campus and it's safe to get people back in, that would be absolutely amazing and fantastic. But we're trying to work on an assumption that won't happen, so that we're as prepared as we can be.
That's brilliant. And actually, that leads on to the next question, which is what impacts do the government and the daily statements that Boris Johnson makes have on the university?
Well, I have a pretty dramatic effect, actually, because as I was just saying, we don't get them any earlier than the public. So I tune in at 5 o'clock every day, nervously wondering what I'm now going to have to do. And in some cases, I have had to do things that have actually made quite a big difference. So you'll notice that we had to shut the libraries, for example. That was something I really desperately didn't want to do, but it was very clear that we had two problems, really. One was that students weren't in all cases self-distancing, and there were some very clear messages about that. And if you note the government rules now are about no more than 2 people together at time, and also only going out once a day. And that was something that we then had to deal with overnight. So the effect they have on me and on the university is that often after that point in time, we have to have meetings in the evening and work out how we communicate any changes the following day.
Brilliant. Next question students have are, why are assessments and exams still going on, and how will the university provide support and flexibility?
Yeah, really fair question. At the moment, what we're doing is taking the advice from the Office for Students, and the really clear advice that we have is, and it's quite right really, is that we should progress and graduate as many students as possible. And I'm really keen to do that, because this virus will end, and once it's over, people need to be in the best possible position they can be to complete their studies and or get employment. And I know it's really hard. I'm not underestimating that. And we've had to make lots and lots of changes to the assessments to facilitate doing them online. And it's particularly tough if you were expecting to do practicals, because we've had to adjust those. And I wouldn't want to for one moment underestimate how difficult that actually is. But what we've done to try and facilitate this is we've put in some emergency changes to our regulations. And what they mean is we can be much, much more flexible. So we have a whole set of things that we can do. And in an extreme event where we can't do any of those, but we need to actually give someone a fair outcome, we can actually now override our regulations to enable that to happen. And I think that's what I would say is, though, I think everyone will be anxious. I think staff are actually quite anxious about how to do this too. So what I would say to any student who's got any concerns is go and look at the advice online. And if that doesn't give you the answers that you want, go get immediately in touch with your program leader or your tutor, or go to the director of student experience in the faculty, because they will all be in a position to be able to actually help you and advise you. And we do know that for some individual students, you'll have family responsibilities, you'll have children now at home, or you might be a key worker actually part-time and be worried about that too. And that might not just be working in the NHS, that could also be working in retail and shops. And we will try and take every single one of those actual events that are happening to you into account. So it's really tough, but the best thing we can do, if possible, I think, is give you some continuity and stability and actually help you to progress through. But the final thing I would say is we are looking at the advice every day. And if at any point that advice changes, I will let you know absolutely immediately.
Absolutely. And the student union are supporting this through helping with communication, because although there are some students who really want their exams to go ahead and some who it's the worst thing possible right now, communication from the university and the union and the clarity of that communication is something that we think is possibly the most important thing here, so that students have their concerns addressed and we can provide the stability that everyone's looking for right now.
Yeah, I share that view too, and it's taken us a few days to work through some of this. But now that we're working it through, I want to actually be able to communicate it, and also not necessarily communicate everything in one go, but actually feed in that communication in a way that actually helps people. But my main thing would be to say, what I care about is that you get the best possible outcomes that you can. And if you feel that you absolutely can't do that at this moment in time, that's fine. Just let us know, and we can help you work through how to manage that in the best way possible.
Brilliant. The penultimate question is, how can students help? So maybe I should take this one first. There are lots of ways students can help. One of the first things I would recommend is to stay as up to date as possible with the government advice. Reading the news can be quite daunting, but if you go straight to the gov.uk website, there's really clear guidance about what's going on. And do keep a track of your emails and your Moodle, because those places are going to be where the information is available first. And if you do have any questions, feel free to ask as well. Another way students can help is to become familiar with the social distancing guidance that the government have been putting out, and please do stick to it. It's not nice for any of us being stuck inside for the 3 weeks that's suggested. There's people that I want to go out and see, but it's for the protection of our most vulnerable in our communities that we're all doing this. And be reassured that it's tough for us all, but we're all going to have to support each other through this, which actually leads on to another thing you can do, which is to stay connected. The union have put up some resources for you if you're living in halls to run activity and share what you're doing each day, but also use technology, call up those people you haven't spoken to in a while, stay connected as a community, because although we're socially distancing, that doesn't mean we're not going to still have a social life and still see people that we care about. And I guess finally, the last thing to do is to look after yourself and ask for help if you need it. We, as a union and a university, really do care about all our students, and we want to make sure you have the support available to you. And we won't know that you need help unless you come and ask for it. So please don't feel ashamed about asking for help. We're all going to need to do that over the next few weeks. Get in contact if you need anything at all. We're here to support. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Jane?
Yeah, I mean, I just agree with absolutely everything you've said there, Henry. I mean, I think the one thing I'd just reiterate is look after yourselves. Look after both your mental and your physical well-being, because actually being isolated in a flat, which many of you will be in, can actually you can feel quite hemmed in, and it's not necessarily somewhere that you would want to be all the time. So it's finding ways to adapt to that, and actually one way is connecting online, a little bit like we are now, actually. I think that helps quite a bit. But another thing is to do things that work for you. And I think that's really important. So, I mean, I'll give you an example. I like doing yoga. So I've downloaded some online yoga and worked out how to stream it through my TV. And actually, just doing an hour of that a day has made me feel a lot better.
Absolutely. And that leads on to our last question, I think, then, Jane, which is, what have you personally been doing during these difficult times?
Yeah. For me, it's been quite a challenge, actually, because my family are in Bristol and we were hoping to exchange today and move house in a week's time. Unfortunately, we can't exchange and move in a week's time. So my family are in Bristol and I'm in London. And that means I've had to try to actually really deal with being on my own. And I haven't lived on my own for 30 years. So that's quite a challenge. But I've been doing that by doing lots of Skype calls, lots of FaceTime, of also making sure I do go for a walk every day, and that secondly I do something like body balance or yoga, so that I'm not literally sat at my computer 24/7, which I could easily be otherwise. How about you, Henry? What have you been doing?
Well, they all sound like really good ways of looking after yourself. I've unfortunately not been as good to my own mental health. I think I've been stuck in this room for 4 days now, but I'm definitely going to get out this weekend and try and get some fresh air. It seems to be that as soon as the social distancing rules were put into place, the sun came out. So hopefully I can get out on my bike a little bit this weekend and give myself some time away from work, turn off all my devices and try and relax. But it is really hard, and I think actually for those people who are finding it difficult, stuck at home, everyone is going to experience this the effect of this in different ways, some more than others, but it will absolutely affect everybody in some way. And I think that's something that we can all share and support each other for. I'm very proud that both my parents work in the NHS and are supporting people. And I think yesterday's round of applause, or Thursday's round of applause, was fantastic. And it's those sort of things that brings us together as a community. I think they're the things that are going to help us all through this.
Yeah, no, I share that. And I think also, I think everybody at some point has a wobble as well. And I think that's important to recognise. Mine happened actually last Saturday when I was sat here and my partner was supposed to be coming up on the train and then suddenly wasn't really allowed to. And so I suddenly had that feeling of what was I going to do 3 weeks without anybody here. And actually just talking it through with people helped me, and also just thinking about trying to think positively for me about what I could do to look after myself. So, I mean, my way of dealing with things is to basically take control of it and actually say, right, okay, that's the situation. What am I going to do? And everyone has different ways of responding, but it's recognizing how you respond, what helps you. I think it's the most important thing. And also not being afraid to say, actually, I'm having a really bad day today. Can you help? And I think we all have that, and we just need to recognise that.
Absolutely. I think that's a nice way to end this, as a really clear message that we're all here to support, and we hope that all the students who are going through this with us are aware that the student union and the university are here to help. And if there's any way that we can support you, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us.
Can I say one final thing, Henry?
Absolutely.
I just want to say one specific message for all of our health students that are actually going back to the front line. We're really proud that you can actually help, but also my overriding concern is for your safety. And we are looking to make sure that we can ensure that you will be safe where you go back into practice, because it's a massive deal for all of you. And good luck. We're proud of you. We know that this is a huge change to what you were expecting when you came here, but you've all risen to that challenge and your resilience is fantastic. But I just want a big shout out to those students, because it's such a massive deal. And the one very, very last thing I want to say is we did have our first successful online PhD Viva this week, and I gather it went brilliantly. So that is a bit of good news to finish with.
That's great news. The show goes on for the university. And thank you, Jane, for answering those questions.
Thanks, Henry. And I'm happy to come on again if it's useful.
Cheers.
Cheers.